even though it is technically the reddest district in the country, only 34% voted last year, or in 2024. Not for Trump, just voted. 34%, which means that we have this huge pool of potential voters out there that we could be pulling from, right? I think a lot of the thing is, there hasn't been a lot of competition. So people aren't used to even having options. And so there's a lot of voter apathy regarding that. Why would I keep going to the polls and I don't even have someone to choose from?
Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. David Person, Josh Moon, and we are pleased to have with us the congressional candidate for the District 4, if I remember correctly, Amanda Pusczek. Did I say your name correctly, Amanda?
You were so close, honestly. And that was so good for a first attempt. So it's Pusczek. So the way I explain it is you push someone down a flight of stairs and then you check to see if they're okay.
Got it. Pusczek. I love it. That's a great way to break it down. Thank you.
35
Amanda
years
Pusczek.
it took me to come up with that. Here we are.
Well, that's a good one. I love it. Amanda Pusczek, she's running, as I said, to be the Democratic nominee for Congressional District 4. Amanda, for those who, welcome to the podcast, and for those who don't know where District 4 is, kind of give us a sense of what that area covers.
Absolutely. So the district is huge. It's the largest district in the state. It's also the reddest district in the country for those who might not be familiar. So it's everything right now on the west side from Florence all the way down to Tuscaloosa, and then across the middle between Huntsville and Birmingham, and then all the way up to Fort Payne on the east side.
Wow.
It's huge.
That covers a whole lot of ground.
Yeah.
All those people have everything in common too, David.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not drawn for any other purpose than those people have the most stuff in common, because everybody knows that the people in Tuscaloosa and the people in Fort Payne are like that.
So close, so closely represented. Yes, absolutely. And they all have the exact same needs and everything.
Right. Right. Now, where are you based personally? Where do you live?
I live right outside of Huntsville. My family moved here. My mom was a single mother, an alcoholic, moved me here when I was 5, and Alabama's been home ever since. I get told all the time that I don't have the accent. Don't know how that hasn't happened, but if I get fired up, it definitely comes out. I definitely sound like I watch some WWE when I get really fired up.
Now, you're funny. Tell folks a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living, and just give us a sense of who you are.
Yeah. So like I said, I moved here when I was 5. Alabama's been home ever since. I went to Bob Jones High School. I later went to Calhoun Community College. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. Like I said, I had 2 alcoholic parents. So for me, I grew up with Alcoholics Anonymous, like very early on. And from there, I learned to be of service is a line that said in Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's something that I knew I wanted to do. So when it came time to choosing a career, nursing kind of seemed like that would be the best place for me. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I've been a nurse for about 10 years now. I work typically in places that most people don't want to. So prisons, schools, rural hospitals, any sort of those really niche, really intense sort of avenues of work is typically where I work, and I love it. Nursing's the best career in the whole world. I love it so much. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm partial to nurses. My mother was a nurse, so I'm very partial to nurses. Now, you've mentioned more than once the fact that you are the child of alcoholic parents. I am curious to know if that has, I suspect it's influenced, well, you pretty much said it has influenced your career choice. I'm curious to know if that also has influenced any of your political decisions or even your decision to run for public office.
You know what? That's a really great question, and one I haven't been asked before. I knew very early on that my parents were very angry, bitter people. Were very staunch Republicans, which is very interesting because they weren't otherwise civically engaged. And I knew that I didn't want to be whatever it was that was causing that bitterness. So whether that was alcoholism directly, or they're just general malignment of other human beings, I knew that I didn't like that and I didn't want to be that way. So I set myself on a very different trajectory, whether that be my actual career or how I wanted to develop as a person from a very early age. I recognized that this wasn't okay with me and that I wanted to be something different.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's always nice to get people that are, that think about things, and have some self-reflection and the ability to kind of look at what's going on and what might or might not shape people outside of just the basic simple black and white. When I guess what led you to run for Congress right out? But this is I'm going and I've made an assumption that I shouldn't have. Is this your first time running for office?
This is my first time running for office. Like I said, I'm so happy with my career as a nurse. But
Mm-hmm.
when I stepped into the voting booth in 2024 and I looked up and down the ballot and there were no options, I knew that I was running for something. I knew that I was going to be running for something and I didn't know what it was going to be. And the next few months, I spent time really looking at the numbers and really going through all of the options and all of the offices that would be up for election. And it became very clear that even if a small, tiny sliver of Project 2025 came true, that Alabama's hospital systems were going to crumble. They were
Mm-hmm.
going to crumble. And it became really clear that unless we started putting some medical representation in Congress who actually represented medical perspectives, that our entire healthcare system across the country was going to go that same way. So I looked to see where I could do the best, where I could my expertise and my background knowledge could be used for the most advantageous reasons. And federal became very clear that that was the route to go.
Yeah. What's it been like? It's a first time running. What has the experience so far been like?
So I have definitely not made it easy on myself. Again, I'm running in the reddest district in the country as a Democrat, as a woman, running against a 30-year incumbent. So it's definitely been a challenge and certainly a challenge to take right off for the first hit. But with that being said, it's been an incredibly interesting ride. It's been incredibly fulfilling in a lot of ways. In my district, like I said, there's a 30-year incumbent. People just want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
30 years and the life expectancy has gone down while the life expectancy has increased all over the country. Infrastructure is crumbling. We've got people who can't get jobs, people who do have jobs that can't get insurance because they don't provide it. All of these different things that have been going on for 30 years. And people are just so tired.
Yeah.
With having a Republican for 30 years, they feel like they've been ignored by the Democratic Party, and they feel like the Republican Party doesn't need to work for it because they haven't over the last 30 years. People are just really tired.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I get that. I've heard that from a lot of people, but in that district, you mentioned that it is the reddest in the country, and and having traveled from Fort Payne to Tuscaloosa, I can pretty well attest to that. You hear the banjos, but it's
Wait a minute, what? You hear the banjos?
Banjos.
Deliverance? Is that was a
there's
Deliverance joke?
There's a lot of pretty mouths that run back and forth between here and there.
He's not entirely wrong. Not entirely.
So listen, I mean, I know who you're dealing with. I can say whatever I want to. I've lived here. I've been to, I've been to Lakon. I know what I've been, to the trade days, and I know what I'm dealing with. Listen, I got some redneck roots. I know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
So
you're saying stuff I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. So clearly you do know what you're talking about, because I've never heard any of those names before.
I've used some words that just confused David.
There's a lot of dirt roads still, David. A lot of dirt roads.
There's a lot of dirt roads, man. Listen, listen. There's a lot. I'll just say this: there's a lot of trash being set on fire in a lot of these places. Okay, that's all I'm saying. All right, so that's their landfill. But so I guess my question was going to be how do you kind of break through to those folks, to those people, because honestly, let's be honest, that those are the people who most need somebody to represent them. Who have not been represented by Robert Adderhold. Let me get the hell out of here. He doesn't know who these people are. Most of these places he hasn't visited in years, including, his alleged home. But it's, so, I mean, seriously, he hasn't. We all know this. We all know he
Right.
lives in Virginia. We all know this. This is not a secret to anybody that he spends the majority of his time not in this state. And, he would tell you it's because he's up there doing the best representation of the state. And we all know that's bullshit too, that he hasn't done anything for anybody in between Tuscaloosa and wherever he's claiming to live. He hasn't done it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, honestly, it's the cushiest job in the world that he has. He's basically, you remember that movie Office Space? You remember the guy that's down in the basement that they forgot to fix the glitch and he keeps getting a paycheck down there? That's basically Robert Adderhold. I mean, nobody has fixed, there's no glitch though. That's the problem. There's no glitch. Nobody's actually fired him. Exactly. He's just not doing anything and he's getting the money. And so where is it that you can break through to these people and explain to them, or have you had any success in doing that?
That's a really good question. So the first thing I always say to people is the fact that even though it is technically the reddest district in the country, only 34% voted last year, or in 2024. Not for Trump, just voted. 34%, which means that we have this huge pool of potential voters out there that we could be pulling from, right? Now, the thing that makes it very difficult about this district in particular is because the infrastructure isn't where it should be. So more of the more modern ways of reaching people like social media and digital advertising and even billboards, honestly, just aren't really effective in this district. So it's very much a lot of in-person, on the ground, handshaking 101 kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it infuriates me to a large degree that these folks so often.
I understand that. And I think a lot of the thing is, there hasn't been a lot of competition. So people aren't used to even having options. And so there's a lot of voter apathy regarding that. Why would I keep going to the polls and I don't even have someone to choose from, And so a big part of the thing is getting out there and making sure that people know that A, they have options, and B, then I'm spending my time and giving education. Because a lot of these constituents don't really have an understanding or grasp onto why they would even want term limits or anything like that, or why having representation for 30 consecutive years maybe isn't the best thing. And it makes sense why they wouldn't have that information and that sort of civic idea already in their heads, because their current representative has been there for 30 years. It didn't behoove him to give them that kind of information, right? It was working for him. So a lot of education, a lot of time. But I'm very, very hopeful that having that sort of, I've been doing this for almost a year, right? And having that sort of education and spending as much time in the district as I have means that hopefully we can get people where they need to be long before November.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, it just is, I guess also when you travel around to these places, other than the lack of representation, what is it that they say is most important to them? What's most important to the folks in the most rural areas? What do they believe is most important? I have to think it's not the transgender athlete on the
you know what
team.
That has not come up even once. Honestly, truly, it hasn't come up even once. Even from people who are very blatantly Republican, will tell me when I first start having a conversation with them, that's not even something that comes up. What comes up with people is I can't afford anything, and the secondary thing is, what are we going to do when these hospitals close? Right now, there's 10 hospitals that are at risk for closing in my district, which would leave 11 counties without hospitals. At that point, it doesn't matter if you have insurance. It doesn't matter if you're 5 minutes away from, your primary care doctor. You don't have anywhere to go. And that's really terrifying. It means that there could be thousands of Alabamians dead in the next couple of years.
I mean, that's something that's a campaign. I mean, that ought to wake anybody up. I mean, hearing that statistic. I'm also curious to know, how do they respond to you as a young woman in this very red district?
That's a good question too. I think a lot of times people are very presumptive that maybe perhaps I'm not the best educated as to going into this seat, or that maybe I'm too young to fulfill the job. But then when we start to have the conversations regarding my background, again, nurse, primarily psychiatric, I get my butt kicked for a living. Like, going to Washington and dealing with a bunch of people in a room isn't very intimidating to me when I've literally been shanked. So
Oh, wow.
having those sorts of conversations with people and having that personal connection has been really, really helpful. I think that like you said, me being young and female makes people a little hesitant at first, but it's one of those things, like I said, where people just want to be heard. They're so tired of getting kicked around.
Yeah, well,
Hmm.
look, I mean, we really, really do appreciate you coming on
Yeah.
and spending some time, and for going out and doing what you're trying to do in
Thank
the
you.
fourth congressional district, and making those treks around to some of those places it's not a lot of fun. It's and I know that, and I know that that it will seem like banging your head against the wall, but hopefully somewhere in there, some people will at least think, "Hey, uh, you know, we haven't been getting a whole lot of anything from the guy that we've been sending up there over and over and over again. So much so that 66% of us, if I heard you correctly, are not even bothering to vote for anybody anymore. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe this will all help turn things around, and at least make some folks think. And so thank you for doing that, and thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me on. I'm such a huge fan. I was trying not to fangirl coming in today, so thank you for having me on.
Well, we
Well,
we
thanks for
appreciate that,
joining
and
us, Amanda.
fangirling is fine.
Yeah.
It's no problem at all. It's David does that every day when he shows up, and so it's
Hey,
yeah.
that's supposed to be between us.
I'm just kidding. It's the other way around. All right. Hey, Amanda, thank you so much. We're going to slide out. It's Alabama
Good to see
Politics
you,
this week.
Amanda.
We're back in a minute.